The First Coast is rich in history and architectural treasures, but an area that is full of them is often overlooked. A new initiative aims to change that. Scenic Visions spotlights the life and history of areas outside Jacksonville's urban core. And I'm joined now by Scenic Jacksonville's Executive Director, Nancy Powell, and Director of Old Arlington Incorporated, Steve Matchett. Hey, welcome both of you.
Thank you. Here.
Thanks for being here. So what is Scenic Visions? This is a new initiative. It's targeting 3 neighborhoods. Is that right?
This year, it's targeting Arlington.
Okay.
And this is an outgrowth of the Great Cities Symposium, which Scenic Jacksonville hosts every year. And this year, it's on October 9th. That program brings in speakers from other cities to talk about downtowns and revitalization. So what we wanted to do is bring the conversation to the neighborhood level within Jacksonville, working with civic leaders. And we are thrilled this year to partner with Old Arlington, Inc. and several other civic organizations to bring you a spotlight on Arlington.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask, what is the architectural and historical message that you would like to share about Arlington? Steve, it's a place that a lot of people are familiar with. A lot of people go shop there, but there's so much about it that people haven't maybe explored.
A lot of that's because they go down the Arlington Expressway uninterrupted, but and have a different image of what Arlington really is. And this is part of what the series and the spotlight is trying to do, is highlight and showcase the assets of Arlington and other areas, the canopies, and our first episode is going to be, or event's going to be a boat tour, and to see Arlington from the river. And something that most people haven't seen in that regard. And there's a lot of beauty and a lot of history with Arlington that we're looking forward for the public to become more aware of.
And I think it's fair to say a lot of people move to Arlington because they're able to live on the water. There is so much waterfront. There is such a beautiful tree canopy.
There's also location, which is really how Arlington's development came after the Matthews Bridge opened it up, and its easy access to downtown, beaches, and what have you. But yes, the beauty of Arlington is attracting new people, and the architecture, the mid-century modern architecture as well.
So that really is a selling point. I know in addition to the boat tour, Nancy, there's going to be a trolley tour that goes through the neighborhood and points out some of these architectural landmarks, really. I mean, there are some amazing hidden gems by some amazing architects. Tell us a little bit about who's there and what people should look for.
Well, Old Arlington is really the expert, and that's why we're partnering with them on the hidden assets. But the Kona Skate Park is there, the Butterfly House. We also have Tree Hill. I'm going to let Steve talk about some of the others, but that is looking at Arlington, from the inside, whereas the boat tour is looking at it from the shoreline. And as we know, Arlington also has some challenges. So the intent about this series is to have meaningful conversations, experiential programs, so that people can experience the neighborhood, people who maybe haven't been there for a while, to come and see it. And then the third in the series is a panel discussion on May 29th at Jacksonville University.
And so there are some people like Taylor Hardwick. The mid-century modern resurgence is really, kind of very current, and there's such a home for it there in Arlington. Bob Broward, talk about some of the pieces.
You know some of it.
There's really some history there.
Very. And the reason was because when the bridge opened, Arlington was pretty much just a few rural enclaves. There wasn't much. It was a blank canvas. And this was the time that the Taylor Hardwicks and the William Morgans and the Bob Browards were practicing. And so it became a blank canvas for them to do their work on. And Arlington has the richest collection of mid-century in Jacksonville. And we've featured it on annual home tours in the past. From the boat tour, you'll be able to see some of these as well. And a lot of the riverfront communities in Arlington were developed during this time and with mid-century modern architecture. It is a big attraction for people today because it's now become historic. It's over 50 years old, and it's now protectable, and our preservation efforts are underway with that too.
That's an interesting landmark because, you look at Arlington, you can see a lot of history. You can also look at a time that sort of predates zoning laws as we would like to see them today, or any reasonable, cohesive, development in some areas. So What are some of those challenges that Arlington faces that are either kind of baked in historically because of some of the ways that it was designed, or that are current and new challenges?
Well, probably the best vehicle to express that all would be in the community redevelopment area. The Renew Arlington CRA plan adopted in 2015. The legislature doesn't hand out many of these anymore, and we are fortunate to have that in place. We're 7 or 8 years into it.
You mean CRAs they don't hand out anymore?
Right, right.
And for people who don't know, that's kind of an opportunity to reinvest some tax
It
dollars.
is exactly right. It's incremental tax dollars are captured and then and spent in the Arlington area. And with that, that became, finally, we had a plan that had some funding behind it and some real work to be done. And that plan we were able to obtain it basically because Arlington was blighted. It had a statutory finding of blight. And so a lot of that, as you mentioned, was because of zoning. We were not handed a good zoning palette from the county commission days and inherited some of that. And you still see scars of that today. And the CRA is going after the aesthetics, the fencing, landscaping, signage in a first kind of attempt to kind of correct some of those mistakes of the past.
And so this focus on Arlington, there's the boat tour on March 23rd, there's the trolley tour on April 20th, and then the panel discussion, as you said, May 29th. And so this is an initiative of Scenic Jacksonville. How do you hope it moves forward? What is your goal, Nancy?
Well, we are an advocacy organization, and we seek to improve the scenic beauty and character of Jacksonville. That's our focus. And so what we hope to do is spur civic action by people who maybe are in Arlington and haven't yet been involved. So that's where Old Arlington comes into play, as well as our other partners, Jack's Arlington Council, the Greater Arlington Civic Council, and Jacksonville University, and really improve the neighborhood.
Well, Nancy Powell and Steve Matchett, thank you so much for sharing this new endeavor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.